to access it. And there I've got all the friends I've got, Thomas, etc. And I can open their folder and see what they share. And if they share something, I double click on them and use them. If they share some applications, double click on them and use them. No installation. You know, there's no installation necessary. So it's like you have today an internet folder, right? With the whole internet in it. And that's what is going to happen. You will have the whole world in that. So I'm just making the next video, please. Okay. The phone. Let's open the phone and start the friend application. Takes a couple of seconds. Camera on Galaxy S8. Close the phone. It's gone. Open the phone. It's there. It's peer-to-peer networking. So direct communication, and you've got the photos. I couldn't resist to show you this photo of my little bird Gigi, who now works in the office. And you know, it's also drag and drop. So when you want to share a photo, you just drag and drop it to your friend. And look at this one. Big video not that before. When you shoot a video during a quarter of an hour, it's like 300, 400 megabytes. Before seeing it on your TV, you have to wait when it wants for Google Drive to upload it on Google Drive and or copy it on a USB key. There, with Friend, you will just open your phone on your TV, where you will have Friend in the browser. You will double-click, open the camera on Galaxy Drive, double-click on the video, and it will stream instant. So you will be able to shoot a quarter of an hour video and see it the second, even live on your TV. All because everything is connected. Next one. And now the Friend browser. So the Friend browser is our own browser. It's still in very early stages, but it will show what you want. It will be the display panel of the Friend network. For the moment, you can display the content of the network. Who is on it? About the users, member of office, and what they share. So if they share more, you will have the whole world when you do that. So it's going to be very long when all the Friend network servers are interconnected. So there I am sharing my wallpaper folder as public. When you do that, it's actually you're opening a website. Everything in the public folder will be available to everyone. And it's going to stay on your local machine. So now you can see that the public folder is shared. If this public folder contains index.html, Friend browser will display it. If it contains index.jsx, which is the name of the applications we have in Friend, then you will have a web page, which is also an application, and a cloud application. So we're mixing application, web pages, in all unifying things. Can you put back the presentation? I wanted to also show you that when you open a new session, you will have, for example, if I open, I'm on Windows, and I open the same session on a Linux machine, I would have a Linux icon that will pop up there, and I will be able to shut the machine, because it's my session, so I will be able to. Imagine I forget to log my machine before leaving work. From my home, I will have the icon of the work machine there on the same session, and I will have a close button. Then it will stop the computer. Okay, very soon in Friend, what you see tested and improved, you know, with live video and audio communication. So with a friend, you want to make a live video, you click on it, and you're in. It will, for the moment, it's only usable on the same Friend core server. So you have to be on the same server, which is basically the setup of a company. All that I have shown is available today for companies. It's not available for the whole world. To To be available for the whole world, we have to connect the friend network servers together. It will greatly improve communication in the company. You can share files in folder, communicate with colleagues with ease. And the same functionalities are going to be available for a phone. Can you go to the next? No, that's good. On the phone, this is a proposal of interface. You will see your friend as you saw them there. Knowing that in friend, on the phone, your application are there. All the applications. But what is a phone unless a communication device? Today's phones, they are app players. There's nothing, everything is an app on the phone. It's not a phone anymore, it's an app player. Even making a call, you have to start the phone app. So it's not a phone. And it's not a computer either. You know, it doesn't communicate, it's kind of an autistic computer. But with friend network, you know, the drives on the phone are just part of the network, so developing on the phone is easy. It's not like this mess of hundreds of megabytes of libraries and stuff you have to install to develop the tiniest Android application. It takes 1 hour to compile and takes 3 minutes to do a simple run on the phone. I mean, come on. In friend, you will just save the JSX, which is the JavaScript file and the pictures, on the phone, on the drive on the phone, and press run, and it will run. That's all. No SDK of any kind to develop on the phone anymore. So it's going to simplify the life of developers a lot. So, you know, friend network, you will have the icons of your friend, the number of messages, notifications, and then you will have, you know, this kind of display that will allow you to open the folder, to read the mail, to join community, to join, etc. Send pictures, the central mode of communication on your phone where everything is at the same place and you can communicate with everyone. Tomorrow, friend, for the moment, the friend network servers, you know, the servers are like a diary, a yellow page. When you connect to friend network, you appear on the friend network server and you're available to the other ones. So it's a diary of people connected. And for the moment, the friend network servers are not interconnected. So if you have someone on one friend network server and another one on another friend network server, they cannot communicate. But as soon as the link between all the friend network servers is done, then you will be able to communicate with everyone around the world, being here and in peer-to-peer. You know, friend network server just gives the address of this guy, and then a peer-to-peer communication is established. And that is all. That's why the system is very simple and very reliable. You know, making a peer-to-peer connection is stable, it's WebRTC, it works, and it's very economical in resources for everyone. No need of big infrastructure, central servers, it's just direct, you know, bypassing everything. And friend network will interconnect everything the way you've seen it on phones, you've seen it on desktop. The desktop could be on your fridge, the desktop could be on your TV, it could be on your watch, and I really can't wait to develop the watch interface. My goal is that you have the whole cloud on your watch in an easy way to, you know, there are some kind of leap 3D scanners that can be put in watches. So you can use your watch like that without even touching it. That's my goal, to make that. And we want to connect domotics and robotics, because we've got a very simple interface that links everything. So define some protocols, common protocols, make it free for the manufacturer, and then all the devices like the automatic plugs and the thermostat will respond to the same interface, your interface, and no more Chinese manuals, no more thing that doesn't work or you cannot fix. Our goal is to unify that as well, and as well for robotics. It's also tomorrow in friend, you will have a team viewer. There will be one new icon in the bubble of a friend, is share desktop, of course. And then you will be able to invite someone in your desktop. No need of extra application. You will be able, and you are today able to create multiplayer game and networking application with ease. My goal is to create simple API. Start a multiplayer game in 2 or 3 instructions, and that's all. But of course, as in Amos, it has to be simple and stuff, but it has to be deep if you want to program more down to the ground. But the first step must be easy. That's my goal. And something that's really exciting is the live application. Imagine that. I'm working right now on a second version of Red 8, which is going to be the editor of Amos 2. So it's basically like, it looks like Visual Studio Code. Look at that. If I want some help on some code, I can invite someone from within the application. And it's like a multiplayer game. A live video stream will be established with the person I communicate with. His mouse will appear. So in the application, there will be 2 mouses. There will be his and mine. He will have access to the keyboard and he will be able to type the code while commenting what it does. And you will see me. Oh, sorry. Yes. He will see me as I see him. So it's from. This is what I call live application, shareable application, where you can invite people to help you work in real time, and not like this today on Google Drive. Google Documents are really cool, but you just leave a message, and then the other guy reads the message and he answers the next day. That's not how an office works. You've got to respect some timing. You want immediately, otherwise you stop. With that, you won't stop. And of course, every application will be possible to do live. So it will be, as it's in the OS, everything will be like that. The future of the network. For the moment, I've only shown you one community, which is called Office. But you will be able to register to more communities. So you can have communities for your family, with the father, the mother, the kids, and the cousins. And you can have them there. You could have communities for meat lovers or Porsche lovers, and inside of Porsche lovers, and it's also a hierarchy of communities. It's a tree of communities. So you have Porsche, and then I love the engine, I love the spark plugs of the Porsche, and it's a tree of communities. Simpler URL system, a simpler URL system. And I will talk about that later. A place of freedom and security. Freedom is very important. And the world will be as a shopping mall. Connect, and our final goal is to connect millions of people in a free and decentralized network. So I'm going to go now from each point. A world of community. What is a community? A community is an enclosed space with users inside. But what is not shown on this drawing is that there can be other communities inside of a community. So, for example, you've got a school, the community of the school, and then you've got the chess club, you've got the administration, and inside the administration you've got the accountants, and you've got the, and there you will have the manager of the school, and you will have all the secretaries, there you will have the kids, etc. This is community. And if you are not in a community, you're out of it, you're in the friend community, and you're visible by everyone. If you're in a community, all the community that are above you can see you, but you cannot see above. Like in nature. You see from above, but you don't see that. God sees you, but you cannot see God. A simpler system of URLs. When you look at today's URLs that are kilometers long, start with HTTPS : I mean, normal users, we programmers, we're okay with it, but normal users, they just don't think about URLs or about the first 3 words. The rest, what do you need on a friend network? You only need 2 things to look at the machine or the user. You need the name of the community it belongs to, and its username. And if there is no duplicate name in the whole world of communities, then you only need 2 things. 2 things, community, name. So URL on friend network is that, and only that. It's enough. Username can be Francois, it could be Renault, it could be Peugeot, community name, companies, could be Facebook, why not? And we will extend the system with commands. So say you have a TV in your living room. So TV, home. Stop. I type that in the CLI in front in my bed because I forgot to stop the TV. It will locate the TV, send a message to the friend network, through friend network to the TV. The friend network extension will stop the TV. As simple as that. And the code is there. The code is there, we just need to do the drivers. There's no more DNS. Everything will be handled by friend network servers in a decentralized DNS system. And actually publishing your website is just going to be one click, and it will take only a couple of seconds instead of a couple of days or hours today when you make a new DNS. A place of freedom and security, which is the challenge. We've got to make this secure. We have to define the whole rules of the universe, and that's a fantastic job. There has to be some free, really free communities where people will say what they want, pretend to be where they want. We want to bring the freedom back to the internet. The internet has become politically correct, and that's not No installation. And paying or renting application, I'm a real partisan of pay by minute on application. For example, Photoshop. I would love to be able to use Photoshop like 1 hour a week. And instead, for the moment, I'm obliged to pay like 50 euros per month for 1 hour a week. It makes no sense, so I'm using pay.net. If I could rent Photoshop the time I use it, like for 5 euros for 2 hours, it would be okay. I would use it, make some time, and it would be automatic. Just click on Photoshop, and bubble opening there, saying this application would cost you like 10 cents per minute, and you've got the counter, and when you close the application, the counter says it costs you like 5 euros, and that's it. And everything will be validated on the blockchain. So everything is going to be legal, and we have a simple and automated system through the network because all the wires of the tube is already done. For authors, they will, each time they make a sale, they will receive a notification and they will be able to read some widget with coins dropping each time someone buys one of his programs. There will be a coin dropping on his desktop, making a cash register sound, which is what I've built. I've made that for big team in 2005, and it was really fun. Connecting to see the live sales as live on the desktop is really fun. And the big challenge is to expand Thread Network in a truly expandable and global network of connected users without using the traditional internet. There are some problems with peer-to-peer networking. It has to be a network managed by the end user. If we want people to share their computer resources and make friends. For example, when you have a phone, 8 cores, like 4 gigs, 8 gigs of RAM, it's more powerful than a PC. And how much, what's the percentage of the power of your phone you use every day? Like 2%? 5%? Looking at websites? This is a global waste unless you play some 3D games. That's the only use of the power of a phone is to play 3D games. But not everyone plays 3D games. So share your resource, participate in the network, and make money. And everything by keeping the same simple API for developers. So now I'm going to drive you through a possible solution and the problems of a decentralized network. Peer-to-peer networking is a beauty, B connected to A, connected to C, connected to B. That's simple. With 6 users, it becomes a bit more complex. And with 18 users, this is already a big chunk for one server. So a global network of million people connected together is impossible for the moment. But there might be some solutions. A tree of liquid servers. What is a liquid server? With Thread Network, it's possible to create servers on the JavaScript client. And who says JavaScript means quick. So it's servers that do not exist, are needed, are created, live, expand, and die. So quick live server, that's liquid server. So let's say you are in a game, connected together, playing in a group at a specific location. And there's a new one coming. But this group is at the maximum allowing the proper speed of the game. Knock, knock. Can I come? No, we're too much already. Okay, so then I will transform myself into a server. Server goes, the new server, which is liquid server in JavaScript, goes under and then establish the connection. These connections, during the negotiations, these ones are kept. And when everything is ready on this side, then it's cut there. So it won't be noticeable. Now we lose the peer-to-peer aspect from it, but it's really quick. Only 2. And it allows more. This guy will have to have the best machine, so there will have to be a poll of who is the best. The data is going to be transferred by through it. So you can already increase the number of users. If you multiply that, and make a real peer-to-peer network on the lower level, then you've got a lot more people. And now you can do it one more, and one more, and one more. And you can also establish shortcuts between the different layers. And I've done some calculation for the entire population of Rust. You only need like 11 levels of servers to reach a lower level where peer-to-peer is actually possible. So there are some solutions, some really fantastic solutions possible. And it's a lot of research and development, and it's can't wait to be working on that. So, as a conclusion, you know, this is a classical view of a network on the Earth, you know, network. And the paradigms completely changed with friend network. With friend network, you can consider friend as the soil, and the liquid servers like plants that grow, live, die, depending on the users. And I will make some display. If the system works, I will make this kind of display. So it's actually a kind of living ground where you have trees of liquid servers and liquid applications evolving depending on the user's demand and adapting itself in real time to provide always the best experience at no cost for anyone but the tubes. We don't need servers anymore. We just need tubes. And all these guys will make friends because they will share their resources. And it's an entire ecosystem that we're trying to build, where people will be motivated enough to share like 30% of their phone because they make money. If you make like €1 a day, if you share 50% of your phone, then okay. If your phone doesn't go slower and you don't care, then it's fine. And that's our goal. And that was Friend Network.
Okay, guys. So we have a program here, and I hope we're not tiring you guys out with a lot of information. And I also hope that we get time to sit down with you guys and show you the friend system at its current status, remove some of the unfinished features, and just how you can use friend in a really down-to-earth way right now. And talking about down-to-earth, we're not only a crazy research and development company. We actually are working with customers, and of course we're not throwing them into the fractal universe or twisting their minds into seeing you know, all our visions ahead of time. So talking a little bit about what we're doing in business, David Pessens, who is working with us with international marketing and sales, is going to talk a little bit about what we're doing commercially. So I'll have the microphone to him.
Hello everybody, welcome. Thanks for making the effort to be here. It seems strange because every time I come to Poland, I've been 3 or 4 times now, it's always nice and warm and sunny. Maybe we bring the sun with us, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I figured that my little contribution to this evening's event, really getting away from the sort of technical side of things, because I openly admit I'm a technical dumbass, I really am. But the thing that interests me is that when I first joined Friend, which was about 3 years ago now, actually, we were not involved in blockchain, we're not involved in cryptocurrency or any of those things whatsoever. And what interested me was the portfolio of products that the guys were developing for normal business-to-business and business-to-consumer use. And it's some of those products that I want to very briefly touch on. I'm not going to do presentations or anything like that. I'm simply going to just tell you some of the portfolio products that we currently have. One of our products, we've actually built a whole company around it. It's called SoftMerge. And the idea behind this product is that if you were a company and you set your business up 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, whatever, and your company is running successfully, you're probably using COBOL or Fortran or one of those softwares from Heritage years ago that is doing, maybe you're running your payroll, your accounts payable, and all that's fine. But now you really want to get into running perhaps Windows or you want to run Mac software. What do? You throw away everything you've already got and start all over again? Well, you don't need to, because soft merge, with that you can, soft merge sits transparently on top of what you already have. It won't affect it in any adverse way, but it will allow you to run Linux, Mac, and Windows all together. They can talk to each other and they work on any device. So SoftMerge as a product for business applications is phenomenal. There are so many. There isn't, I'm sure you've heard of the company and the product called Citrix. Well, Citrix does the same thing, but not in anywhere near as developed way, and it's very expensive. Our product is very much cheaper than that, and much easier to implement. So that's one product in our portfolio of business-to-business products. We have another product. Some of these products, actually what happened was that they were all under development, and we were very close to finishing them. And then suddenly we had the opportunity, we realized that the Frame Unifying Platform is the perfect vehicle for blockchain technology. And we were enticed into developing, and the first thing we had to do is write a white paper, which took a very long time. So we stopped developing some of the products that are in our portfolio. One of those products is a personal favorite of mine. It's a product which we call Web Stretcher. Now, I don't think anybody really knows the actual amount of websites there are in the world. Clearly it's billions. But it is estimated that at least 50% of them are built with a really terrible product called WordPress. And I think everybody agrees it's a god-awful product. And you can't even run a good high resolution picture in it. It just doesn't allow you to. With Web Stretcher, you log into FriendUp, which of course is open source and therefore free. Then you can access your WordPress account, and by using Dropboxes and various other things, you can enhance that website immensely. You can allow it to have high definition pictures, it can run videos, it can run music, and so on and so forth, which is why we call it Web Stretcher. Now again, that is a product which we are very, very close to finishing. And in fact, I think that's being demonstrated on the screen. I believe it is. Yeah, so that's another incredible business-to-business product that we have. So we have the way that our company is structured, we have a topco, a holding company, which is Friend Software Corporation, and then we have underneath that we have Friend Software Labs, we have Friend Studios, we have Friend Network, I guess, which we just were talking about, the network setup. So our commercial activity, which was really, in a way, was kind of put on hold while we were getting involved into blockchain. But we have, for example, in Norway, as you probably know, this company is based in Norway, we have a very interesting use case for Friend with the healthcare system. We've got a company that is actually digitalizing all of their doctors' surgeries. I won't go into all the details of it, but it's a working model now, and as such we intend to roll it out basically across the world. We have signed I don't know how much of this I can tell you, but we have a letter of intent signed with Huawei. And the reason for that, and I'll tell you this story, is that Huawei was invited to give a speech at Trondheim University. And the professor at that time there was actually a Finnish guy called Pekka Abrahamson. And he had been specializing in researching liquid software. So he invited Huawei to go and speak. And when Hardman finished his speech, Taker went up to him and said, you know, I've been searching for what you've just explained for 20 years. And of course, that is what Friend is. It is liquid software, essentially. So anyway, he said to Hardman, will you come back and do another speech in the next week or two? Which he did. And in the audience, at Pekka's insistence, were the major guys from Huawei in Finland who actually bought the R&D division of Nokia. And those guys they were charged for the previous 2 years to write software specifically for Huawei for their new phone system using 5G. And when they saw what we've developed, they got rid of all their R&D team and said, you know, why reinvent the wheel? These guys have already done it. So they've signed up with us to use Friend software on their new phones, which I think is pretty damn exciting. What else can I tell you? Yes, so I've just recently signed up a very large company in Italy. The company is called ADS. They have 20 offices and they have 800 staff across Italy. And their customer list is a who's who. They've got Alitalia, they've got all the major banks, they've got all the major retail outlets, and they supply them all sorts of software and stuff. But they want to add new portfolio products to their range, and that's what I've decided to do with them. They've asked us out of courtesy to hold off making it a big official announcement because they are undergoing a restructure of the company, and I believe that involves some refinancing. So I'm just waiting for the word from them, and then we'll make a big announcement about that. So basically what I'm saying to you is that we're not standing still as a company, we're not just promoting tomorrow's technology. We're working on stuff today, and that is actually our core business, and is really starting to pay off now. Hardman has just, literally this week, they've just signed a deal with a group of principalities, which is like counties, in Norway, in the region where they are in Stavanger. And they are going to be rolling that out. How many schools is it? How many schools is that rolling the whole city? Yeah. And that's all starting next. I think by the time the guys get back and we start working on that, it's probably about a 2 to 3 month initial project. And if it all goes well, then it's like that, it will be rolled out across the country. So, as you may or may not know, we are in the middle of an ICO, which is an initial contribution offering, raising funds for our future, which is what we've been explaining today, the Friend Network, and also Friend Store, which I prefer to call it Friend Digital Superstore, and I'm still fighting that battle. But essentially what's happening is that we will be opening up an online store, not in competition with somebody like Amazon, but really we are going to be a competitor. We believe very strongly that software developers and people who provide services, they should get a lot better deal. So when we open the Friend Store, you'll be able to buy, sell products and services. We will charge at least half of what Amazon charges for that. But the other interesting thing is that with Friend Store, not only will you be able to buy via the usual invoice route, you'll be able to buy through credit and debit cards, you'll be able to buy with PayPal, cash of course, and you'll also be able to pay with cryptocurrency. That's a bit of a first too. So I guess really what I'm saying to you is that, you know, we are not standing still. We have very, very ambitious plans. Our roadmap goes out to 2026, I believe, from memory. And everything is planned out, and we know exactly what we want to do. So anyway, that's really me done, and I said I just wanted to bring it down to the reality of as a company, we are a business-to-business company as well. Friend Chat we haven't discussed, so we'll just briefly discuss that. Friend Chat is our video conferencing product. It's peer-to-peer, so if you want to talk with somebody, all they have to do is online. And we can just send you a URL, it's a tiny little URL, click on it and immediately you're in. Again, the difference though is that with Friend Chat, let's say you've got 5 or 6 of you all over the world all talking, we can drag and drop into Friend Chat, programs, apps, games, that everybody can work on collectively online and see it working together. And that's a pretty powerful piece of equipment. We're currently in the process of expanding that into a better version of Friend Chat, which the working title is Friend Chat Cloud Studio. And the idea of that is that it is designed for people who want to make their own YouTube videos. We'll be providing multiple camera angles, shared screen, high definition audio recording, high definition video recording, all in the one package. And again, I think it's a very, very exciting product. So that's me done. I hope that I've given you a different spin to what Friend is all about. And I think it's time we're having a break, I believe, with some drinks and things. Yeah, they got me, yeah. So anyway, we're around for a while. Please come talk to us about anything you want to. And then before the end, hopefully you can all have a little bit of play with the system. So thank you very much indeed.
Okay, a lot of you guys have a lot of questions. And we're going to be here as long as you guys want us to, and as long as you can survive it. We have enough things to drink, and I hope. So let's just, you know, some of you guys may want to go and play with our systems a bit, and Pavel and you know, Francois and everybody else will be available, and then just ask some questions, and let's just do a questions and answers right now. So there was one guy at the back there who had some questions. So let's see him fire out some of those. No? Just give him a shake. Me? Yeah, there. Just give him. Give me some. What were your questions? You had some questions. Okay. You want to have off-the-cuff questions and answers, okay? You guys, any questions?
Okay, I have one.
Yeah.
How much is it?
How much price? How much price it is? Okay, the cost. Okay. So this that I'm having up on the screen here right now is the public service. So this one rarely gets updated with the latest, greatest stuff that breaks. This stuff is meant to be stable and convenient, so you can use it every day.
For me, the first question?
You get the second question. And my friend.cloud is a free service, and it's always going to be a free service. It's going to evolve into becoming something kind of like the Google Cloud. Not to disrupt it, not to replace it, but it will have cloud storage for you. It will have, like you saw from Francois' presentation, you'll be able to see when your phone is online, when it's offline. It does this using our client-side network, so it doesn't go through the server. So the reason why we can deliver such a free service is that Friend takes almost no processing time on the server. It has almost no load. Even when we have lots of users on it, we have like 1 or 2% server load. Because a lot of stuff is going on in your browser, on your machine, not on the server. That just delegates all the data. And so the price is free. You will buy yourself into your footprint. So if you have a lot of, if you use the Golem service, or if you use any other service that requires you to pay some kind of token or currency, then that's your choice, and that's how you augment your friend system.
So the basic principle is that you are getting this for free unless you are using a paid service.
Yes. Friend for us is not a product in the consumer market. It is the marketplace. We want it to be spread everywhere, and then we will use our expertise to earn our money in that ecosystem. Of course, our major focus in business is on companies and enterprises that will be off the network. They will have their own networks, and we're going to use our expertise and our knowledge to build great solutions for them. But for normal people, they can either download our code and install it on their own servers, or they can use myfriendup.cloud that will have the biggest aggregate of cool applications and services. What's your question?
No, it was not a question. I could got the question. We have some gifts.
Sure.
I don't know how we call this bottom bar of the screen. It's a friends bar or whatever, with the bundles of friends which are online. But what happens if you have 200 of them?
Yeah.
How do you organize the friends, the groups which are online?
That's a good question, and I forgot to talk about
Oh, that's a good for the question, as I said. The gifts.
Okay.
You?
Okay. Yeah. Yes, I forgot to talk about that. It's only a prototype, so I used the easiest possible solution to display icons on the workspace, which is the widget that on the program. But what's gonna happen? Your friends will be in a panel that will slide when you put your mouse somewhere in a consistent way. So it will not slide every 5 seconds, but you will have all of them there and will have a lot of space. On the dock, you will only have your sessions. So when you open your phone, you will have a phone there. If you've got another session on the TV, you will have the TV there, and that's all. Friends will be there, sessions will be there.
Okay, the question is, how does it work when the internet is off and probably it takes time to synchronize things when you work off, when the internet is off? And the second question is, do you have to install something to work without the internet?
So today what's available is an Android app and the workspace available like this one on myfriendup.cloud and also for download on GitHub. At the moment we have the old stable version which is in the GitHub repository. Work online, except if you download and install it on your machine. In fact, this is halfway to our prototype of the offline version of Friend, where you're essentially running the Friend core as a co-kernel on your machine, and then you have the Friend workspace running locally. In the future update of the Android application, the Friend core will be built into it. So that means that when you're offline, everything is still working. And this is also the idea of the Friend book. Now, that's our initial solution for working offline. Now, Francois has already solved a new solution, which is using your local devices storage space. And we have a great guy, a Ukrainian guy in Silicon Valley, his name is Sasha, who has recently come after our Developer Week conference there a couple of months ago, and he's working on progressive web apps. Now, progressive web apps is kind of like offline web applications. So they're web applications that act as if they're Windows applications or Mac applications. So it's somewhere in between. And he's looking at our code and going through, and he sees, there's a potential here of actually making the entire workspace work offline using your local resources until it loads back on again. Now, there are a few caveats to that. If you're using Windows applications through RDP, using our Liberator stack, those, of course, will fail because they're essentially just live streams coming across the internet. But if you're using Friend applications, using our APIs, They load just like any program. When you click it and it starts up, then it's loaded into memory. And it only accesses the network when it tries to get network resources like files and images and so on. And when you're running in an offline mode, your file requester will quite simply just show your local devices. And through a browser extension, which Francois has already started on, and it's done. Yeah, it's done with bugs, but it's not going to be buggy for long. You're going to be able to just use the friend desktop with your local files and continue working. So we're thinking about this problem, and it seems like it's very easy to solve, depending on what you want to do. Any other questions? No?
Sure.
Go for it.
I'm sorry, I have millions of questions because it's something new to me. The philosophy of friend is perfect if you assume that internet is limitless and free. What happens if you use a mobile phone in roaming outside the country, I mean, and you have limits, and if you go up of the limits, you have to pay. Are you intending to introduce some policy for filtering the contents, filtering the users, type of resources they go on public with, to minimize the bandwidth that you are using on your mobile phone when you are abroad?
Okay, so we have almost not talked anything about blockchain or anything about ICO tonight. We are involved in an ICO. We are entering the cryptocurrency space because we know that this technology has a missing piece that Friend requires to be totally decentralized. We want, I have an interview online. If you go check out some of our videos, I talk a little bit about this. And I talked a little bit about it when I talked about the metaverse. Now, what's happening with the internet is that, you may have seen the creator of the internet being a little bit depressed about how it compartmentalized it is and how siloed down it is, and that you have a few players controlling the internet these days. And you have Cloudflare that blocks, that can be used to block internet sites. They're in lawsuits all the time with different parties doing exactly what you're saying, trying to limit the internet. We are building what Francois just showed you with the tree structures, a network that can run autonomously. So what that means is that when you download a friend server and you connect it to the grid, then you are creating the service. That means that we have nothing to do with what's going on in the friend network. We will make a solicited friend store where you can buy reviewed and rated applications that we can go good for. We can say, we can tell you that everything that's available in our store is legit and follows the rules and can be as politically correct as you want it, etc. But the users can use the same APIs and find the products and build their own stores with whatever they want. It's not that we want people to do bad things, but we believe that humanity has to be freed. It has to be, you have to start with the idea that grown-ups know what they're doing, and then you catch the bad guys afterwards. You don't start with the idea that everybody's bad guys, and then you elevate the good guys afterwards. That's the wrong way.
That's the Norwegian way. It is.
But anyway, so our idea with using blockchain is that people get incentivized for running nodes. And so when you're running a node, you're getting tokens for your resources. And you have a no middleman ledger that allows people to buy and sell services on the friend network. In a lot of our presentations, we're talking about perhaps you're going to have a small cut if you pay with what we call, fiat money. So if you pay with dollars or zlotys or whatever, then as an exchange kind of service, we will take a rate on processing those transactions. But if you go into tokens and into cryptocurrency, it will be totally free. We have nothing to do with it. It will be autonomous on the blockchain. And so, in specific answer to your question, we want to create a decentralized grids of user-owned infrastructure where people are running the servers, creating this as an omnipresent system on the internet, where the users are in control of delivering the service. So at that point, we're out of the question as far as running the infrastructure goes. and it's up to the users to decide what type of information and services they want to share. Any other questions?
Wasn't your question, will my Android phone work with I'm not connected?
Yeah, I have a question about the soft merge.
Pardon.
I mean, I have, for example, under my support, there's 200 people, and for example, 100 PC company, right? And most of these are using, for example, solid edge software or the CAD software. And you said that soft merge can run Windows applications, for example, right? And how much is this a virtual emulation or a virtual machine, or how much can it run of this software? And I mean specifically about resources and about how fast can it work, because this is very important for example, CAD applications, which require a lot of hardware resources to run. And how does it work?
Okay, and as a company, I'm part of the open source movement. I've been around for many years. I get shocked when I see myself in the mirror. Time flies too fast. I'm not a kid anymore. But it seems to me that the open source movement just started, and it's been going on for a long time. The reason why I'm saying this before answering your question is that stuff is going on that will just totally change how we virtualize applications online. At the moment, we're using the Remote Desktop Protocol, RDP, today called RDS, Remote Apps for Windows, which means essentially that you need to have a provider, and this will become apparent once we have Open Source Liberator, that you can set up a Windows domain at home, you take care of the legalities of being a provider, and then anybody across the planet can buy Windows applications running from your node. But you have to run it from a server. It is running in a virtual machine somewhere, or on a real machine. Now this is changing. WebAssemblies is changing everything. Because WebAssemblies allows you to, you can run an entire Linux distribution in a browser. And so where we're going is that these virtual, let's say call them Docker images that today run on Linuxes, you're going to have Docker-like images of everything happening in the browser. And so pretty soon, you're going to have an entire Windows application running in a bubble in your browser, and that will be delivered through the friend workspace.
Does it work have my own environment, all does it work independently, like online Linux?
So today, it works online through a network connection, scanning every frame on the server and delivering that to your browser. People are doing some interesting things. We were talking to NVIDIA in San Francisco a couple of months ago, and they had this problem inside a car because they're also involved with with autonomous cars and technology for cars for different car manufacturers. And so one of the problems they had was a bandwidth problem, because for each display screen inside the car, they have a different computer running. And when they need to show a 3D representation of something, they had to send the pixels. They couldn't just send the geometry that was rendered on each screen. So they changed that, and now they've created a new, OpenGL is getting a new project, which allows you to send geometry that's just like shaded on the client. And so you can do the processing in the cloud, but you're not sending all the pixel data. You're just sending the vertexes and the splines. Right?
If I can talk about the 3D now.
Yeah. And so a lot of things are happening in this space. But at the point where what is showing on your screen shows private information, you don't want that on the server. That's the point. And Jagosh, who's here tonight, has been working with finding encryption algorithms that can run on the server, that can kind of hide what is being processed, which you need for anonymous processing in the cloud. And nobody has really cracked.
Watching Friend TV.
Intel and others have some encrypted computing going on, but can we trust them? Spectre, all the shit that happened. That's why we're talking about open source hardware. That's far away. But anyway, so the point is that we want to do the processing on the client. And the people who are making the browsers today are making this possible. And so it's just about having the right platform where these applications can play. If you would use WebAssemblies in a browser on Windows today, it would be like, why? Why can't I just run a Windows application? But when your computer is the internet, and you have an internet workspace, a desktop environment, or a phone interface that's using the internet as a machine, then you would want to run those type of things in such an environment. And so I think Friend gives the arena for these technologies to fester and develop those capabilities.
One more question.
Can I say
What if
something?
my hardware breaks? Because as you said, it's going to be the most local it can be, right?
What if
my phone breaks down?
Yeah.
And all is lost.
Yeah. So the point is that when your computer is online, we actually imagine an advertisement campaign where you have different young people going around with their devices and then getting to a river and then tossing it and saying, that's not my computer. Because the computer is now running in their trusted network online. So
anyway, it's going to be kind of
and it all comes down to the last mile with the session management. That the last frozen frame of what you're doing actually is stored in the cloud, so that when you pick up a new device from the shop or from a friend and you log back in, everything is there like you left it. And that's what we're working on.
About the streaming, Yves Guillemot, the president of Ubisoft, said that the future on gaming is streaming. But you cannot stream videos in game because it's too much data. I've been working my other baby of this year. I had twins. It's called the Tree Engine. Basically, it's a JavaScript engine based on a very, very simple API with just 3 or 4 functions. It's a tree with flowers. The flowers are what you see on the screen. When you stream something, you do not need to transmit the tree. If you see only the flowers, you only need to transmit the flowers. And basically that's it. Each element, like a button, like a dialog box, like a widget, like a drive, icon, is a flower. And it's defined by X, Y, image, and a couple of things, or Z, if it's 3D, and that's all. So if you only transmit the modification in X if it moves, in the image if it changes, and only that to the client who has already the same tree structures, but only the surface. You only transmit the image, and you don't transmit the pixel, you transmit the coordinates of the things. You have an instant streaming, very easy to do for the developers, that it will eat very little the data on the network. Transmitting a coordinate is like 10 bytes, and you can transmit a whole image position, as providing that the image has been rendered or loaded before, and that's all. And this system will work everywhere, and it could actually drive the whole workspace very quickly. We could have, if we wanted, we could have the whole workspace on the server driven by the tree and only transmit the coordinates of the buttons. And the code is already done. But if you give me 1 month, I make the system.
Any more questions?
I'm sorry, it will be my last question today, okay?
I don't have
Okay, if I understand correctly, Friend is all about changing bad habits that we have after over 30 years of using computers in a very bad style. There is one thing that is I'm wondering about. Why there is no trash can on the workspace? Is there a moral connotation of putting a friend in a trash can?
I've got a command to stop the friend server. It's kill friend.
Oh my god, that's even worse.
Well, the thing about the trash can is you're looking at version 1.2 release candidate 1. This one is actually even earlier, even stabler than when you got to release candidate 1. This basic UI is a mishmash between Mac OS with a menu on top But not quite. It's actually a revealed Amiga OS menu, because the first prototype was a hidden menu that you had to mouse click to show it. And of course, it has a Windows or a Chrome OS like dock at the bottom. And the icons are put on this side, which would be more familiar to Windows and various Linux users. So in this interface, you have both Linux, you have even old systems like Amiga OS, Mac, and Windows, all blended together. And you can decide, you can customize. We have theming in Friends, so you can make it look like what you want. There's also system disks that are hidden in this view. You can choose to show it. And the system disk controls the read-only part of the operating system that you can interact with in the file manager. The trash was, in the old systems, 1 per disk. Because if you delete all your Google files and delete all your Dropbox files, who gets the penalty of hosting all those deleted files? Well, that should be the original file system. And so we've been designing and doing different things. There will be a trash on the desktop that will contain the trashes of all the other disks in a composite. And there will be a type of RAM drive. Now, the Amiga OS had a RAM drive. Every Amiga desktop had a RAM up in the corner. And people don't know this, but Linux also has a RAM drive, which is used for multi-threaded inter-application communication, because this RAM drive has not so many problems with mutexes and thread locks and stuff like if you just build everything in a cross-application. It's actually one of the biggest problems with memory-protected programming is that you don't have direct memory access between the applications, and you can do that through a RAM drive. And so in our case, the RAM drive is a local storage drive. So we're adding a lot of these old concepts in a new way, but not everything is apparent in the current version. You're definitely going to see a trash drive within version 1.3, which comes after this cycle, so in a couple of months, in other words. It's a complicated answer to a simple question.
About the workspace and its look and feel and the way it is. This is, for the moment, the workspace are based on the CSS file. So it's very complicated because the hardware is very good at CSS, and making that only with CSS and HTML is really an achievement. I am supposed to write the 3D workspace using the tree engine that I developed earlier this year, thinking about the task. The tree engines and its structure will allow you to not only redefine how it looks, but how it behaves. Say you've got a button, normally you left click on the button, but who knows, you might want to do a circle around this button with your mouse. Then you will take a gesture and you will drop it on the button, and that will be it. You will have libraries of gestures, you will have libraries of behaviors, library of graphics, of designs. It's all going to be drag and drop, and you will be able to create your very own version of the workspace, being very close to Windows, very close to Apple, or something else. I mean, you've got a kid that's learning computer that's 3-year-old. You don't want him a desktop like that. You want him a desktop with Mickey and a few buttons and games. You will be able to create it, and you will be also able to sell it on the French store, of course, because it's work. And companies like Disney will be able to sell workspace designed for kids that will follow their evolution during the years. We can, I mean, we're not linked to the hardware. We are in a browser. It's so easy in a browser.
So, and this is a fantastic thing. You know, Java, write once, run everywhere. You had Tau and Intent trying to do the same thing. And the point is that there's only one group of people who actually managed to do it, and that's the web people. The web people did the miracle. They created the first de facto standard that survived. I mean, it's quite crazy that you have multiple browser vendors who essentially support the same protocols and the same standards. It's quite an achievement. I think the closest thing to that today would be the GL community, but they're still fighting between DirectX and you know, they're now forking into subdivisions with NVIDIA. But the web standards are here to stay because they're now part of business. And businesses need to be able to run their applications. So because of this entanglement with business, we're allowed to have standards, which has allowed us to get applications working on every single device. And so we're going to go a step further and say the operating system doesn't have to look the same, but it will be intercompatible. That means that your Disney desktop and somebody else's you know, desktop for blind people will run the same software.
Yeah.
That's something new that hasn't happened before. But now
with your interface, with your very own interface, application will adapt to you. If you rather have the OK button on the right than on the left, then all the application will obey your interface, and there will be for the developer it will be easy because they will be able to do application without any notion of interface. Just make the list of the buttons. Each button has a tag. Say I'm related to file and I have to be pressed when the dialog box ends. So okay, it will be put on the right. If you choose to have that on the right on your interface, you know it's going to be a live and be configurable depending on your very own what you want on your computer interface, your very own interface. That you'll be able to sell if it's really great. And that's what we want. It's your machine. You do not have to be driven by computer. You're not the slave of computer. Computers are your slave, and things are changing right now. We become slave of computer and cannot carry on. When AI is going to come, it's going to be a mess everywhere. Application will try to guess what he wants to do, and you know, at the beginning of technology, it's a mess. Everyone makes everything, and when the Chinese are going to make AI, it's going to be awful. So it's going to be awful during a couple of years, and so we will be some kind of savers, you know.
Okay. Other questions? No? Okay. Then oh, here's a question. Thank you.
Question regarding hardware. Will you base only on the thin and line, or do you have something beyond? I mean, do you have any infrastructure to serve for the first client?
Any structure to sound?
Yeah, like, for example, I would like to use kind of storage, right? So I have too small for my requirements, right? I need to use some other storage, like, for example, video, right? And for reading this data, I need to have this extra hardware, extra computational power. And I would like to join these two solutions from others via that platform. I suppose it's possible, but I don't know how to actually. And for example, if I have some resources, I would like to give it to the friend platform. How it works? What are the prices?
Yeah. So I'm just going to show a little bit deeper. Let's see. I'm going to go in and unveil my look and feel application here. So I'm going in and I'm going to show my system drive. And
You changed the theme.
yeah, it's the old RC. It's the old RC. Please cut it in. Okay, so I have my system disk, and in here we have devices and cores. In the cores, you'll be able to add new processing units. So this is where Golem is going to show up, for example, and others. And the phones are going to show up there. And the stuff that you connect in the peer-to-peer network, so it's secured. Also, as you can see here, you can add storage. So you can add different devices depending on file system. So you have, for example, Google Drive or any other type of drive, And as you add them, you aggregate them on the workspace. And you could be adding a disk that would be in your basement or at a friend's network. And if they would be connected to the friend network, they would be incentivized with tokens, or you would have some resourceful person who would do that for free for you. So, and sharing your devices, when you connect, you will go to the friend network and go to your core, that is your phone, and you will say, share this device. And then you will earn tokens through the network based on people using that and so signing up using your device. If you need 30,000 CPUs, you would probably go to Golem and drag the slider to 30,000. And there will be others providing that type of service. In the friend network, once it really kicks off and you get millions of users out there, it will be easy to find 30,000 units to share. Okay,
watching Friend TV live from our friend Meetup in Poland this evening. Right now, back. Watching Friend TV live from our friend Meetup in Poland this evening. Right now, back to the studio here in the UK with me, Dan Wood, in my home office here. I must apologise that we did have a few technical disruptions on tonight's stream. You know the deal when you're on the road and you're relying on public Wi-Fi in hotels and conference rooms and that kind of thing. It's not always as plain sailing as we hope. So that hopefully, you know, does explain the technical interruptions that we had this evening. But I think there was enough there to give you a real good feel from the presentations that Hogner, Francois and David did about our passion here at Friend, and also a little insight into the technology, the way it works, and our future plans for the platform that are pretty grand. But if you want to find out more about that, I'd implore you to have a look on our website, friendup.cloud, where not only do we have a very comprehensive, in-depth white paper that you can look through, but also our future roadmap that's laid out for you know, pretty much the foreseeable future, many years into the future, to kind of show you where Friend wants to go as both a platform and a project in general. And of course, if you want to try Friend for yourself, it's an open source project. You can even sign up for a free account right now on our website at friendup.cloud. That's also the same place where you can download our GitHub source code as well. And if you'd like to ask any questions or interact with the team, we have links on there to our Telegram group that's very active, and also we're now on Discord as well, and all our social media links, of course, and lots more videos if you want to learn more about Friend, the team, and the technology. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Again, apologies that we had a few technical interruptions in tonight's stream, but hopefully you enjoyed it. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you in the next video.